Whoever controls the ocean has the power, and here in up north, a new ocean is being born.
Greenland has been part of the Danish kingdom for 800 years. It's an integrated part of our country. It is not for sale. Let me put it in words you might understand. Mr. Trump, f off.
This island has always been frozen, and that's why it has always been isolated away from powerful navies. But now things are changing because of global warming. Here is the lowest ice cover in 1980s, and here is the lowest point of ice in 2022. Yes, that's how serious it is, which basically means a lot of the area getting exposed for excavation. And hence the countries looking to control these oceans.
Increasing tensions.
Looming war in the Arctic is a massive military
What
build-up.
happens in the Arctic Circle could have far-reaching implications for us all.
When President Trump reiterated his desire to acquire the island.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time.
That who understand present need to go back into the past. So they consider both the presence of US and the political control of Denmark on Greenland as a kind of colonialism on them. As in his statement, he said, Greenland is for Greenlanders. Hello everyone. So I'm going to discuss a very important issue which has a huge potential to change the world politics or world dynamics and especially the politics of the Arctic region. That is the issue of Greenland. Now to again, as I always say that to understand present need to go back into the past. So to understand the present status of Greenland, we need to understand what is the political system which prevails on Greenland and since when Greenland came under the political control of Denmark. So it was in 18th century, Denmark took over the political control over Greenland. So politically it became the part of Denmark, but geographically it is more closer to North America. So it is much more closer to US than Copenhagen. And this is why US has a lot of interest in Denmark, in Greenland. Now, if we see the location of Greenland, this makes US too much interested in this particular island. So at present, what is the political system which prevails in Greenland is that Greenland is a autonomous territory, politically controlled by the Denmark. Autonomous, when we are saying, means it holds more powers within the political system of Denmark to govern the domestic affairs. So the Parliament of Denmark controls the foreign affairs and the military affairs of Greenland, and the Parliament of Greenland, they take care of issues like taxation and other domestic issues. So it enjoys more autonomy within the Danish political system. Now, during the Second World War, Greenland came under the political control of US for some time when Denmark was under the siege of Nazis. So this was the time when US took over the political control. When the Second World War ended, US, realizing the geopolitical importance of Greenland, wanted to have a political control over Greenland, and this is why the US government at that time offered that we are interested in buying the territory of Greenland, which was rejected by Denmark. And since then, Greenland is under the control of Denmark, but US was still running an air base on the territory of Greenland, considering its geopolitical importance. Now suddenly this issue has again come into prominence because in his New Year address, the Prime Minister of Greenland has said that it's time to end the shackles of colonialism. So they consider both the presence of US and the political control of Denmark on Greenland as a kind of colonialism on them. As in his statement, he said, Greenland is for Greenlanders. So in this context, this issue has come into prominence, and this issue can escalate a lot of tensions, and it is already generating a lot of heat in world politics. Now, I hope you are able to get the background of the issue. Now, during his first term, it was Donald Trump who again floated the idea of buying Greenland, and he said that US is very much interested in buying Greenland from Denmark. And very recently, in one of his media interaction, he said that US will for sure going to have a political control over Greenland, and it's a absolute necessity. And he's trying to create this narrative that the control over Greenland is must for the national security of US. And for sure, this time US will try to use all measures, be it economic diplomacy or the military diplomacy, to buy or annex Greenland. So US can go to this particular extent of annexing Greenland from Denmark, and for this US can go for a military action too, as said by US President Trump. So as US is becoming more aggressive, there is a reason for this why US is becoming more aggressive for the political control over Greenland. And as I just said, he has said he does not rule out this statement. These are the words of President Trump when he said he does not rule out the military annexation of Greenland. Now, why US is becoming more assertive is because we need to understand where exactly is the location of Greenland. It is surrounded by Atlantic and Arctic. And as under global warming, polar ice sheets are melting, new sea routes are emerging, new trade routes are emerging. And Russia and China together are trying to increase their presence within the region. And this is why the political control over Greenland has become very important for US. So this is the thing. So basically it is about the control over the new sea routes, and also Greenland is full of minerals. And one of the important mineral asset of Greenland is the critical elements. And China is the major exporter of critical elements, and US wants to compete with China in this particular aspect also, that the critical elements are very important for US economy. So if US will able to have a control over Greenland, US will able to balance out China in terms of the control over critical minerals, because at present majority of the export is from China, which increase US dependency on China. So through this, US wants to decrease its dependency and wants to control the new sea lanes which are emerging in the Arctic region. Now, the another aspect which I want to tell you is this, that in general, whenever we think about the world politics, we have always focused on the politics over continents, and some of this aspect has been missed, that politics has always hovered around the oceans too. So if we see the Second World War, the whole geopolitics was hovering in Atlantic, as opposite sides of the Atlantic, they were involved in a war. One side Western Europe, other side US. So opposite poles of Atlantic were involved in a war. This geopolitics from Atlantic drifted or shifted to Indian Ocean during Cold War. As Afro-Asian countries started coming out of colonial yoke, superpowers wanted to bring them to their fold. This is the reason why US built military alliances like CENTO and SEATO in the region. So for around 70 years, whole politics was hovering in Indian Ocean region. US, France, they built their military bases also in Indian Ocean, Reunion, Diego Garcia, okay. And US increased its presence in the Gulf region, and Gulf is a part of Indian Ocean because of the oil discoveries. So the whole geopolitics was hovering in Indian Ocean region. Now in the last decade or so, geopolitics is drifting towards the two other regions on the ocean, that is the South China Sea and the Arctic Ocean. Why geopolitics is hovering in South China Sea? It is very obvious, because now China is becoming more and more assertive in the region. And China, with its newfound economic and military strength, want US to vacate from this region. And recently China has given aggressive statements that China can go for the political control over Taiwan. And US can't afford to see Taiwan politically going in the hands of the China, because through this China will be able to change the world economic order. So one thing, whole politics is hovering in South China Sea, and other politics is hovering in Arctic Ocean. As I said, polar ice sheets are melting, new trade routes are emerging, and with the new technology it is possible to extract methane hydrates from beneath Arctic. So this is the reason for US renewed interest in Greenland, through which US wants to counter the influence of Russia and China, as Russia has the maximum continental shelf within Arctic, and as per UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on Law of Sea, continental shelf is the criteria to demarcate exclusive economic zones. So US basically wants to increase its continental shelf in Arctic through Greenland, and that is why US has said it will not going to compromise. That is why Trump has said that US will not going to compromise, and it has become one of the important aspect of their national security. After all this, now comes the last aspect of this discussion, and this question was asked by UPSC also in mains in GS. Okay, in GS paper 2, the geopolitics of Arctic and India's involvement there. Now we need to understand where is India, as India is now one of the major emerging power. So how India is looking forward towards this renewed race which is going on in Arctic for the control over resources. Now India does not have a geographical reach in Arctic, but we have a long history of doing research in Antarctic, and considering the kind of experience we have of doing research in Antarctic, India was given the observer status in Arctic Council, and we have our research laboratories in the Svalbard region of Norway. And India is a country who has a consistency on its stand over Arctic, Antarctic and space. According to India, these are non-acumen regions, not fit for living, so non-acumen, and thus these regions should not be colonized. So India has a very clear stand that there should not be race for extraction of resources. These regions should only be used for the betterment of humanity, and these regions should be considered as the repository of mankind. So India stand on the renewed geopolitical race which is going on in Arctic. India is totally against this, and India's stand is that these regions we need to consider as the regions which belong to mankind, and they should only be used for scientific exploration. So India's stand on Arctic, Antarctic and on space is this, that these regions hold a lot of potential for research work, and this is how we are engaged there. We are not in any kind of we are not in a kind of imperial race. We are here only for scientific explorations and development. Okay, now the last thing which I want to say is that now the kind of statements which Trump is giving, so it clearly reflects that the policies of the kind of statements he is giving. This, we have one theory in international relations, and that theory is seen as the timeless wisdom, that is theory of realism. So realists believe that that aspiration for power will never end and power politics will keep happening. And clearly we can see world politics is going again on the lines of realists, when at one point of time it felt that liberalism will win the war of ideologies, but again we can see realism is coming into picture, as Trump has said that we are not going to compromise and we will annex. Even if we have to annex, means forcefully we have to take Greenland from Denmark, we will do that. And through this, US is undermining the first and the foremost principle of UN Charter, that sovereignty of the state needs to be protected. By giving these statements, he is undermining the fundamental principle of world politics, and this clearly reflects the true nature of world politics, that it is full of anarchy. And that's what Hobbes said, that the kind of that state of nature is anarchy. And based on this concept only, realists believe that what prevails in world politics is anarchy. And we can clearly see that in world politics, anarchy is on rise, which can push the world towards renewed conflicts, instability and violence.